Hey, it's Tank Abbott here, sitting next to Dan Severn, the guy that took me down and slapped the shit out of me at Ultimate. He got the big W. He's a cool cat, rapping with him. It's been a long time. Good to see him. Here he is, the one and only.
Dan Severn here for Tank Abbott. The one and only. I mean, that, let's face it, his pedigree. I actually, you won't know this, but I actually asked Big John McCarthy when there was at one point that, see, this was not going to be good for an intro right now because it's going to go into the story here. But I go, you had made the comment at one point in time you could take all the other UFC competitors and add up their rap sheets and it wouldn't come close to yours. And I asked John, because he was involved with LAPD, is that a legitimate claim? And he did do a little background check. He goes, oh yeah, Tank has had a lot of brawls at a lot of different bars, and you were banned at a number of different bars. So
very
again,
true statement.
I'm just saying, with the brawler himself, the bar brawler himself.
Yes, sir.
Tank Abbott.
Before there were rules, and Dan, I jokingly said, I don't know if you know how to read or not, but here it is.
Is there any pictures in here? Maybe just a picture book? Maybe?
No,
Okay.
I'm going to get him. I'm getting
Give
him
me some
some crayons.
This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and today for the first time we have two UFC pioneers with us, UFC Hall of Famer Dan the Beast Severn, MMA legend Tank Abbott, former WCW superstar. Dan Severn's also former NWA world champion, former WWE superstar, in tons of Hall of Fames. How are you two doing today?
Well,
Not too bad. How about yourself there, Pete?
we're in the sun.
Yes.
I could be back east, freezing my butt off in Coldwater, Michigan, but I'm out here enjoying the sun. Need to know what kind of sunscreen I need to put on here instead of how many layers of clothing I need to put on to stay warm.
Yeah, that's always a better option.
Yes, most definitely.
So when was the last time you two probably chatted?
Probably 25 years ago.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, but
we didn't chat then either.
Just recently at one of these professional wrestling fan fest conventions. That's why
Las Vegas.
Somewhere with the last, let's say, couple years.
Yeah, we crossed paths. Yeah, I just got out of the hospital then, so that had been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was slowly moving across the floor, and Dan came by. I said hello, and he walked off and didn't say anything. So I go, oh, I guess Dan doesn't like me. Join the rest of the world.
You play such a heelish role.
Of course.
You know.
It comes naturally.
But now you two seem to be on decent terms. You're not killing each other. No one's throwing each other into the pool.
What? I'm here with Dan Severn. Fuck Dan Severn!
Do you think Don could ever forgive Tank for their heat, Dan, or was Don just playing it up for the camera?
Don's a different cat altogether. So I won't speak for Don Fry by any means.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to break bread together, but I mean, I don't know why he'd be upset with me. All I'm doing is speaking what John McCarthy is pushing and other people. It's not for me to decide if someone set a fight up or not that I participated in, but you know, it can look that way, and that's for him. All I know, like if Paul Herrera is probably somebody else was in the octagon waiting for me to fight, who I trained with, I wouldn't fight him just because that's the warrior in me and the way I look at things. So, but you know, everybody marches to the beat of their own drum, and Dan thought he needed to do that. I seen it. I'm not too good with this social media stuff, but I think I seen that Dan and Mark fought before, and it kind of looks similar. I don't know where the fight was, but
With could be Mark Coleman?
No, Mark Hall.
Oh,
the guy that fell down and slapped on Matt without even Don even touching him.
Never faced Mark Hall.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it wouldn't be to Mark Hall's advantage or desire to face with you.
As far as your early memories of UFC, what are some
No,
of
actually,
your...
I'll go back. This is probably the first time that we've actually had a chance
Okay.
to interact this much. I mean, the last time we saw each other again was at a fan fest, and Tank had actually just gotten out of surgery there. I mean, I'll say I hardly recognized him at that point because everything was from color in your hair and stuff like that. Everything was
Sure.
like all white at that point, and.
That's what happens when you die.
Well, and your voice was real soft, and I mean, again, from seeing you inside the octagon, but then now seeing you out there, to where you went through this incredible diet plan that they had,
sure.
so
Yeah, I was skin and bones. I was down to like 192 pounds.
yeah.
I got even skinnier because I got a parasite infection, roundworm, and they think I got it in Japan, but they also think somebody brought to my attention that Vitor Belfort was there with me on a press junket kind of thing for the very first UFC in Japan. I think the very first and only show they did in Japan. I was like the headliner there, and Vitor Belfort is eating crazy amounts of food, and it was shocking, all the executives from Semaphore and all that, and they're going, "Why do you think he eats so much?" And
Okay, he can eat that much, but he's not putting the weight on.
right, well, so they were asking, and I go, "I don't know. I'm guessing steroids. I'm not a physician or anything, but I would imagine. I've never taken steroids, but I've seen people that have, and I would say they like to eat a lot." And I was my guess at the time, but he also used to say in his broken Portuguese that it was the worm, and none of us understood what he was talking about. Yeah, the worm. And then so when I found out I had roundworm, they said it's prevalent in South America, and it could be, it doesn't really matter. Oh God, I sound like The Rock. It doesn't really matter, but he might have had roundworm there because he was eating quite a bit, but either or, steroids or roundworm. I got roundworm, and it was in my body, and when I take anti-rejection medicine, it makes your thing go down. So I must have had roundworm in my body for all these years, the doctors were telling me, and when I get to a dangerous level, my body would turn on my immune system and kill it off. But no longer have an immune system because of my transplants, so it allowed the roundworm to flourish and almost kill me. I spent like 30 days in the hospital.
They have to just bomb the body with antibiotics.
They ended up giving me pills, every like 16 pills at one sitting, and
antiparasitic pills.
From my doctor wife, anti-parasitic pills. And after 2 days, the chainsaw and blowtorch that was going on inside of my insides went away. So it was like instantaneous. It was like,
Wow.
yeah, thank God for Cedars-Sinai. They're a hell of a hospital, and Dr. Toto, the amazing Dr. Toto, figured it out again. He was scratching his head for a couple weeks, but figured it out. They did a biopsy on my intestine when they were doing a nerve block on my pancreas, and that's when they found it. So that was my last deal with death. I was like 2 days away, according to the infectious disease doctor. He goes, "You kept putting off, because I was just putting the pain off, like I can deal with this," until it got to the point where everything, he goes, being Mr. Tough Guy, saying I can deal with it, almost cost you your life. And he goes, anytime it hurts like that, you got to tell us. And so here I sit right now, talking with the one and only Mr. Severn.
Well, okay. Here's a question here for you. I know that we got Hannibal over here that wants to ask questions, but being from the cage fighting world and then going to the wacky world of professional wrestling.
Yes.
Okay, as I was going to go from the real world to this magical,
Sure.
mystical world, what I guess that maybe not how were you treated, but what was your, I guess, first take upon it when you're being approached by companies that
Yes.
are wanting to be involved?
Yes, I was approached by the WWE
I mean,
at first.
did it intrigue you? I mean, is that something that you thought that
Well,
you wanted to do, or?
At the beginning of my career, I fought on Friday night, and they had Bash at the Beach, WCW, on Huntington Beach. And the agents and all that kind of stuff, I was the guest of honor of that show. I still had 2 black eyes and beat the hell the way I like to look sometimes.
It's an acquired taste. Okay.
Yeah,
It's an acquired
exactly.
taste.
You went to battle the night before. It kind of brings back the memories. And so I went there, and like I said, I was kind of the toast of the party, and they were trying to get me to go that way, but I wasn't ready for that. I'm a warrior at heart, and I needed to make my name in fighting first, and then I could do that. And then my hand was forced when John McCain, the senator of Arizona, in the beautiful state I live in now, decided should be illegal.
Should be bad. You bet.
And I had nowhere to go, so I knew that they were interested in me, so I ended up meeting with the WWE, and then I went down to WCW, and Ted Turner and the likes. Eric Bischoff made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and the rest is history. I had a blast in WCW. It's a whole different walk of life than real fighting, but it was like a rock and roll band traveling show, and I was lucky enough to be part of it. It was a great time.
Yeah. So,
Probably expedited my cirrhosis of my liver. But then again, I've always said I'm a funaholic. I don't think I would have stopped doing it. I would have been doing it somewhere else. But it was a great time.
yeah. No. Being at WWF, it was, I'll say, strange on the outside seeing it. And
Sure.
I'm always kind of a person that kind of keeps to himself a little bit. So, but I sit back and observe. It's kind of like even talking with Hannibal. I always tell people that I'll sit back and be quiet. You ask me a question, I'll give you a nice thorough answer at that point. But otherwise, I just kind of just sit back and watch what's going on, because almost everywhere there's good and bad all at the same time. It just all depends on what you're into or what are you looking for.
Exactly.
And
how you take care of yourself and act.
Yes.
And what kind of honor you have.
Yep. I just got to do that. It was only ever going to be a certain portion of my life, and I had my career before, and there'll be whatever I do afterwards, and don't want to be, especially we live in this social media world now that everyone wants to take selfie pictures and post it left and right. Well, I don't want anything that's going out there that's going to look bad upon family and things of that nature.
I'm more selfish. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Say whatever you want to say. I know the truth, and that's all that matters. You can try to twist it, but I know the truth.
Now, did you ever get an offer from WCW, Dan?
I was actually romanced by both companies, WWF at the time, now it was WWE and WCW. When I met with Eric Bischoff that day, he was trying to say, he goes, "Hey, I picture you as like a train wreck hitting the system." I'm thinking, train wreck is not exactly a good thing. So I didn't quite understand how he meant going about this, but it's kind of like, I'll just say that I know what I was looking for, and WWF basically just agreed to my terms, and that's what I went with.
I see.
I never was looking at doing this on a full-time type basis, because I was, it was going to be just a short period of time, because I knew I was already older than what they were looking for. If they would know what my age was, they probably wouldn't have been talking to me. But I did not look my age. I did not act my age. So it was a good opportunity for me. So I worked just really a fraction of the schedule. The average wrestler was working 187 dates for Vince at the time, and I was working, I think, 60 is what my contract was for. So, and I had no type of restrictions, meaning I could work for the NWA, I could work for any other professionals company, but at the same token, they kind of knew that I'm kind of that old school kind of cloth, that I'm not going to simply be doing the job for, again, I always use like for Doink the Clown. I mean, I'm not to say being slanderous towards him, but I'm not going to, as a former NWA champion, stuff like that, going to be simply doing the job for a Doink the Clown. I've got too much respect for what the belt meant at one point, or and some of the people I spoke to. Can I say that that's the current status of that belt and the people that hold it? No.
You both fought Oleg Taktarov. What's your opinions of him as a fighter?
Please go ahead and I'll let you take the floor first.
Oh, you start with the whatever. I think Oleg is a tough guy. Although he cheated to get where he got in UFC 6. That's not too much of a warrior characteristic.
I mean, I don't know what to mean by
well, he fought that little bitch, Anthony Macias, the guy that winked right before me. So he was fresh, didn't have the stress of facing the unknown, like what's going to happen in my next fight. He goes out and fights his friend that winks at him and goes out and falls down and does the job for him.
Oh, were they trading partners or something?
Yes,
like that?
Well, I seen him when I was walking around in the things back in the day. You have to remember, this wasn't like the UFC of current day. It was back ragtag things, walking around the hotel, and him and they were. There's a whole group of people. They had Pat Smith,
yeah,
Oleg. I think Buddy Albin was their manager. And they were like, oh my God, this Tank guy's for real. And at that point in time, wrestlers didn't know about what guillotines were. And Dan fell victim to that. I fell victim to that because Oleg got 2 guillotines on me, but I muscled my way out of them. But the second one took everything I had to get out and ended up rendering me not able to fight anymore productively. And so Oleg had a cake. He fought some guy from Canada, a wrestler, and he choked him out in a real quick guillotine because no one had seen it at that point in time. He was a wrestler, I can't remember his name. Then he fought the scourge of the UFC, the phony fake. He's like the poster boy for all these fake guys that fight their little pretty boy bitch that should have been in there, goes out and winks at him and falls down. And so Oleg is essentially fresh, where I fought the 2 biggest guys in the tournament. And regardless how easy they were to beat up, what have you, the stress of knowing that you're going to fight one of these big guys, it runs its toll up on me. And so Oleg was fresh, I was not. And we all saw how Pat Smith pulled out so the other guy could move in. It was all these things behind the scenes, which a lot of the UFC early ones did, like with the Ferozzo fight. They set that up with the Shamrock, appropriate name, Shamrock, pulling things behind the thing. I'm digressing, but that's where
there's actually quite a few other stories that you're alluding to that we could easily go off into.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, there's a word for that, but I won't use it.
What the hell is that sound, by the way? Just
that's my cell phone. I forgot to show.
Oh, that's your cell phone.
Yeah,
okay.
so
I wasn't sure if it was a phone or his cuckoo clock.
It'll go for like about 12 rings before, but I apologize.
I thought he might have a bird clock.
I could actually go with it just
It might be.
If you wanted her to.
Yeah,
It might be done.
Keep talking. I'll just mute it and then.
Sure,
we're
sounds good.
Keep going.
You can keep. Or someone wanted to know about catch wrestling.
I don't know what it is, but I'm imagining it's like trap fighting and catch fighting. Like they're gonna catch you in a like submission hold or something like that. That's what I'm guessing, or a trap fighting and that's what I'm guessing at. All these wannabe fighters and everything else, they come up with these esoteric terms to make themselves feel special, like they know something that somebody else doesn't know.
Yeah.
And so they're coming up with trap fighting and catch fighting. Something, I think it's an offshoot of professional wrestling.
Dan, could you tell us about that match you had with Tarzan Godo over in IWA?
Well, okay, professional wrestling, but
Yeah.
IWA was kind of like these hardcore type of promotions. They do a little bit more Bob Boyer, some explosives, things of that nature, but that's not exactly my cup of tea. But it'd be Tarzan Godo would come out with a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire and swing it around, and it just I'll just say that we kind of blended both worlds. He did what he does and I did what I did, and really that's probably all there is to say with it. It was I think I probably did some things to him that he wasn't used to having done to him, because again, my amateur wrestling background just tends to kick in different elements there. So it's kind of going, I look at things that are there and I just go with it. So I think in previous interviews I've talked about I've got the amateur wrestling folk style background, but then I've got that freestyle background. I started my freshman year in high school, and by my sophomore year I jumped into Greco, and by my freshman year in college I jumped into judo, and then I jumped into sambo. So I mean, I had a lot of different elements of grappling implemented. So way before Jeff Blatnick helped coin the term mixed martial arts, mixed martial artists, I was, not only but there were other people that were doing the exact same, that were cross training in different forms of call it martial arts. Or to me, I just was training different elements of wrestling, grappling, just to try to help my career out. That's all I was looking for, just to help win more matches, do something that is not normally seen, or just take on certain elements of it.
What is funny is because I said yesterday that I was the person that came up with mixed martial arts, because everybody wanted to interview me, and they said, well, what are you? And I say, you don't understand. I'm a wrestler at heart from wrestling. I've been wrestling since I was 9 years old. Wrestling is what I'm all about, but I am not just a wrestler. I went to the boxing gym, and now I'm training in jiu-jitsu and submission. So you take all that kind of stuff and you mix it all together, and that's what I did. And I must have gave 50 interviews to everybody, and I used to say that, mix it all together, and out of that, maybe Blatnick stole it from me, because he came up with I don't give a rat's ass either way, but I was the one that was coining that phrase, and he must have.
Huh.
Yeah, just a little tidbit for history. Just like the gloves, everybody wants to say, I didn't come up with the gloves. I was the one that came up with the gloves. I dare anybody to find somebody on the UFC that's wearing those kind of gloves, not a golfing glove or a boxing glove on alternates that you never saw on TV. Someone wearing those gloves. Me. So there.
And you didn't like it when they brought in the mandatory gloves, did you?
It wasn't mandatory when I fought. I was just...
Yeah. When they were starting to implement the gloves, I mean, the gloves, I was okay with the gloves. It was the taping of the hands underneath the gloves. Putting on just a pair of MMA gloves, you still have the capability of ripping and grabbing. And again, the wrestler at heart, I want to be able to take people down. I want to be able to do lateral drops, headlocks, You know, and by the time you tape your hands, it's like you tape your hands like a boxer's. It really restricts your movement, and then you put on the gloves on top of that. So I mean, literally, I went throughout my entire career, only ever having to tape my hands once, where the athletic commission's like, no, it's mandatory. You must tape your hands. I'm like, what's the bare bones minimum?
Right.
You know, and they said, well, basically one piece of gauze and one piece of tape. So I basically had one piece of gauze, one piece of tape, and as I'm putting the glove on, it's actually falling off.
Right, sure.
And you know, now the athletic commission's like, well, what good is that going to do? And I go, what part of I did not want to have any on my hands at all.
You're just going by the rules.
Yeah, again, just trying to play the rules just to my benefit, knowing that I need to be able to grip people. I was never going to win matches with the Dukes of Hazzard because that was not my skill set. But if I could get a hold of somebody within my grappling range, I was good to go. And last I knew, people had to be within arm's reach in order to punch, legs raised to kick, knee, elbow. So it's kind of like going, I just was pretty good about staying back, just enough out of range, bait people to do things, and then try to close that distance, get the clinches, or just jam them up against cage walls. And that literally was my whole career, just doing those kind of elements.
What are your thoughts on this Lithway type of fighting that's becoming popular now, where headbutts are allowed? And I don't know if they're going to allow this rule in the U.S., but apparently the knocked out opponent can be revived within 2 minutes to get back into it.
I'm not even aware of this. Are you aware of this?
No, I'm not, but it sounds pretty cool.
A guy named Dave Leduc is the world champion of it.
But is the name of the organization, or do they call this fighting something different than MMA? Or
it's called Lithway.
Lithway.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it before.
But they've started to have some in the U.S. now too.
But I would think that if you're going to get knocked out, and they revive you just to possibly get knocked out again.
Exactly.
I'm not exactly. I don't think that's a good career move.
Yeah.
Everybody tries to outdo it one more time, like bare knuckle and all that kind of stuff, which is like ludicrous. Why would you fight bare knuckle? The only reason why you have gloves is to save your hands.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with being bare knuckle. That's like dumb. That's about the phonies that get into fighting that don't know anything about fighting, and they want to go, oh, let's do something crazier. No gloves, bare knuckle. That's stupid.
Are you surprised that's being sanctioned?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, but I don't. It's not going to last. I don't think. Who wants to go out there and hurt their hands?
I know there's been pay issues with some of the bigger organizations. I don't know if the current ones are still like that, but I know Chris Lieben and Phil Baroni had pay issues.
Well, really, I mean, the bare knuckle. I mean, aside from Ultimate Fighting Championships, when they had the no holds barred bare knuckle aspect of it in the beginning, now with the bare knuckle boxing that's coming on board, it really has not been around that long inside the United States.
It's a dumb thing if you know anything about fighting. It's not all it's going to do is bust your hands up and maybe cut your face up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's why I look at that the knuckles that more meant you're gonna get much more cuts around the eyebrows, more nose breakage, more cut up lips, things of that nature.
But it's not going to make any difference in a fight.
But you're saying overall though, just the punishment to the hands, are we talking about like long range, start to get arthritis and things of that nature, or
that's going to happen anyways, but not when you're young. Oh, that's not going to happen to me. But no, like when you're in a fight and you punch somebody, your hands get messed up. And
potentially even broke in the process.
Yeah, but if you have those gloves on, it takes away from cutting. Like I used to have like railroad track scars all over my knuckles. I don't know how I acquired them, but some people out there in Huntington Beach can tell you how. Anyways, you just mess your hands up. You break your hands, and your hands get cut up, and you get infected, and that's why I was like, I can't fight 3 times in one night with no gloves. That's stupid. I mean, and then like, what did these martial art guys run around thinking? Oh, that's crazy. It's not crazy. It's stupid.
Okay, when you came up with this glove idea, did you have to run it past the UFC, or did they?
Yes, they had a fighters meeting at the show I was at.
Okay. What number was this event that you
Six.
worked on? Okay.
And so I went into the fighters meeting, and I asked them about fish hooking. They didn't know what it was. And Big John McCarthy's nothing but a Gracie stooge, meaning he pushed their Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and that was all a conflict of interest. They have a fight show, but they're going to pick who's going to fight in it. I mean, just by that nature, it's a conflict of interest. So if I had a fight show,
So what you're trying to say is that Jorge Gracie, being half ownership of the UFC at
Yes.
that point in time, might have a
He
little bit
picked-
of a vested interest.
yes, and then UFC 6 comes along, and the average.
I'm just trying to lead you a little bit,
Yeah,
because
thank
I
you,
felt
yes.
exactly the same way, that it was basically a marketing tool, and I tip my hat off to it. It worked.
As a commercial.
An infomercial for selling Gracie Jiu-Jitsu franchises. So yeah,
Exactly right, and so they picked who was going to fight.
yeah.
Like Joe-san, that guy's a killer. No, he is a killer and a rapist now. I guess he picked the wrong guy.
Yeah, that was Chemo's trainer, right?
Yes, the guy that got found. He stabbed somebody, or he sliced somebody's tires, and they had to do a DNA test on him. This is what I think. And they did a DNA test on him because he pleaded guilty to a felony vandalism charge.
Yeah.
When they ran his DNA, he was popped for rape, and then the statute, he raped some girl on the beach. That ran out, so the feds went after him with a torture charge.
Wow.
He got a torture charge, was some sentence like 25 or whatever, and then he killed his cellie, and I think he got death on that. So.
Oh wow.
He used to go to the boxing gym that I used to go to, the Rocky Westminster boxing gym, the Rocky boxing gym, back in the old days, and he was a scumbag from those days, and I would have not a thing to do with him. He always wanted to hang out and party. I'm like, I had my bad person radar on, and I was like, no, dude, I don't need to hang with you.
Is he gone now? I mean, is he?
He's on death row.
Oh, he's on death row. Okay, I didn't know if he had already.
I'm guessing he might just be doing life, but I think he is on death row.
He's still alive for sure, because I interviewed Chemo
I don't know.
not too long ago, and he didn't talk about him as if he was dead.
Yeah.
He would have known.
Yeah.
Now, as far as fighting over in the UK, there's a UK fan watching the live version of this. They want to know both of your memories of the UK.
I was completely. They called me. I had like 2-day notice, and they said, "Do you want to fight?" And how much money you have? And I said, "Okay, I can do that. I'm sitting in a bar right now, but I'll get off the stool and fly over there." Went over there. I filled in for Bob Sapp. Fought on Sky TV. I was jet lagged, crazy tired. Don't really have any thoughts other than that big Ferris wheel thing that goes around by the river there. I think it's the Thames or whatever. That was a scary little place. Not scary, but it's like, whoa, it was impressive. That was all my takeaway from, what is it, Great Britain? The UK, whatever.
You must have enjoyed the beer over there.
Yeah, it was good.
Almost any beer outside of
I was
the
gonna
United,
say,
the United
yeah.
States has a little bit more kick to it. I mean, most Canadians don't like the beer inside the United States because it's watered down. Kool-Aid is what I hear most Canadian counterparts refer to our beverages like.
I don't really remember much partying there. I went out there and I fought. And I fought as long as I could, and there's a lot of things. There's not a lot of fighters out there that will show up on a couple days' notice. They have to get the Rolodex out, and then they finally come to T, and they go, "Oh, Tank will do it." That dumbass. But no, I'm not a dumbass. I just love to fight, and that's it. And so, what the hell? I said, yeah, go over there. Flew over there. It was interesting bringing the pounds back home here, because I put them in a bag and I forgot to declare any money. And so I had a little what's that movie called where they find the hash on them?
I don't even remember.
Midnight Express. I had my own private Midnight Express going through customs.
Hopefully they didn't body
big
cavity search
with a
it.
big with a big bag of money under my hand. I'm like, no.
They're like grabbing people's dicks now in custom too. Have you ever experienced that?
Is Shamrock working for them now?
Yeah. I experienced that, and I'm like, what the hell? What do you think I'm doing there?
I'm gonna go with you.
Yeah.
I want to have to be
Was
searched
this
like
just
that.
recently this happened?
Yeah.
Or- Really? Wow.
Yeah, in December, I was like, what the hell
The
is this?
pat down. Okay, but
Yeah.
Yeah, where's that at? I'm gonna go fly every day there.
other question would be:
Yeah.
was that a male or female guard? Though.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. It
I'll
doesn't
leave,
matter.
I'll leave that up to people's imagination.
Yeah.
But Dan, what about you over in the UK?
I've been to the UK on a number of occasions for both professional wrestling, but then also the fight world. But then even one match where I'll say that again, I was flying over there to where some volcano erupted and had to have planes were being rerouted, and I think I was I'm trying to think where for 5 days, 4 nights, had to hang out at an airport.
Wow.
And so that was, I could tell you all about that airport at that time, but here, the life of me, I can't even come up with the name here right offhand. But that was, I saw the very best of human beings, and I saw the very worst in human beings. It was all about, for survival's sake, because it took them like 2 days before any kind of a Red Cross. I mean, it was, people were, like the first night, so people were just camped out wherever they could camp out because they weren't really allowed to leave the airport. All the local hotels were already filled up, and they're basically have you there. It took them, like I said, like a couple days before they got Red Cross set in there with some cots and showers, and you got people that have medication that was on the airplane that they've got to get back off. So it was real chaotic, and see the very best in some people where they they helped each other, and then other aspects were hoarding of food, and with the Red
Toilet
Cross
paper?
Yeah, well, again, that's more recent. We're talking
Yeah, I
about
know. I'm saying. I've done
no,
that.
it's
Like
yeah.
toilet paper, all these people.
But it was just an interesting thing to go through it. Obviously, I never made that show, but it was. I can just say that I had a volcano that stopped one of my matches.
An experience.
Yeah.
Gosh.
What are your thoughts on women in MMA? It didn't exist when you guys were there at the beginning, and now it's one of the more popular forms of MMA for viewers.
Well, me being ugly with no game, there was no women in my life in wrestling or fighting. So I was lucky enough to find my beautiful wife, and she's a great person. So women weren't in my Rolodex of fun at the time.
At one point, you wanted to fight Ronda Rousey.
I think she brought that up, or somebody brought it up, and once again, it's called biology. I mean, we don't need he-she's fighting in the UFC. I sound like an old grandpa or something like that, but no. And a woman fighting a man, wake up. There's biological differences between males and females. And
No matter who you identify with that morning, right?
you're right. And so whatever skills, all these people get behind technique and skills. What do you think? I just fell off the turnip truck and rolled up in the street and decided to fight? I've wrestled my whole life. I've boxed my whole life. I've trained with world champions in both sports. But I took it to the street and adjusted people that had bad attitudes. Everybody thinks they're tough in Southern California, especially back in those days. And they rapidly found out different when they came across somebody like myself. And I guess, probably I was looking for those kind of people.
Now,
It was fun.
Women in UFC, Dan.
Yeah, when Dana White was asked that question, I mean, he quickly was like trying to poo-poo it. I'm thinking, oh, Dana, you are going to eat those words so quickly, because the inevitability, women boxing, it eventually came about. I mean, it came about almost 100 years after the sport of boxing had been going, but it came on out. And then, you got men's MMA that's taking place.
I don't cut you off, but you have to qualify or make clear that it's not men against women.
Correct. No, these were two distinct differences.
Different areas, right?
Women compete against women, men compete against men. Whereas,
that's fine. I'm all down for that.
Yeah, I think that all kind of came about here within the last couple weeks.
There's going to be a sunscreen pause here.
It's gonna be
You need to
has to do with my medicine.
Yeah, I'll use the bathroom while you're doing that pause, but I'll let you guys just jump back into it.
Yeah, I'm looking at him. I'm like, he's getting ready.
Starting to get red, yeah.
Would you like some, Dan?
I think I'm okay for right now.
You sure, David? Let me get your arms, honey.
I can get skin cancer for my medicine.
Oh.
That's why she's being hyper vigilant.
No, that's good though. That's so good.
I'd be dead without her.
It's kind of like makeup. Okay, let's go makeup.
Okay, honey. All right, you sure?
Yeah, I'm good for now. Good for now.
Yeah, no. So I got heat from that. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't step in a hole. I got heat. Oh, you want to fight a woman? I was like, no, I don't want to fight a woman.
Yeah,
but the outcome is ludicrous that you're sitting there saying that it would be a competition.
Yeah. No,
145-pound man, woman, or child is not gonna fight with me.
But that go get with all the political realm of the world that we're in right now, where they're trying to say that.
I know. That's what I.
Who do you identify with? Not to be a parent anymore.
She's
let
always
your kids make your own.
She's always coming here going, you shouldn't say that. Like, I'm not running for president. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you who I am. I'm a warrior, and I have warrior principles that I live by, which is like courage, honesty, integrity, truthfulness, and loyalty and fidelity. And I'm on your team. You don't have to worry about me running. I'll be there fighting right next to you. And that's what I live by. And if you don't like that, then you don't like me. Go like Tito, fucking scumbag. I never finished this story, but Kerr said that the team went on a hike to lose weight. Tito asked for the keys. He said he forgot something in the van, and they were staying overnight and the whole 9 yards, so they cut weight and everything. He went down to the van and fucking drove into town and ate at a diner and stuff, and then came back. And he's like, what took so long? He's, I was sitting down in the van. And then he said, we walked down the next day and there's tire tracks backed out and the whole 9 yards. I go, he's not my buddy. He's a scumbag. I go, I'm just here to wrestle with Steven. And he's all, oh, okay. And then he ripped off $500 from a check out of my glove compartment there. He got a blank check out of my glove compartment and wrote it to himself. He asked me for a loan at first. I said, I know who he was, his character, and if I had it, I'd give it to you. He's like, oh. So then when I'm wrestling with Steve and Neil after practice, we're in a barrel. We were going, a good half hour afterward, and walk out, and he's in my truck. And I'm like, what the fuck you doing in my truck, dude? He goes, oh, it's cold. I was just waiting for you. And I go, okay. Not thinking anything of it, trying not to think like a bad person. He's a bad guy. And then when it was back in the day where they returned your checks, was the next day after he asked for it, signed for $500 to his brother.
Wow.
I'm like, I took it to the bank, and the bank goes, we'll cover this, fraud's gonna call you. And I said, sure, I'll tell you, his name's Jacob Ortiz, and that's what this is. And they go, okay. I go, that's his brother right there.
So were there any repercussions?
They never said anything, and the only thing I could come up with is that his brother must have paid the check. Like, they called up and said, hey, what's going on? And he said, what? That check's no good? I'll cover it. And they probably sweeped it under the rug.
Oh.
But that guy's a piece of trash. That's not... Oh my God, he got me started.
Do you think they should have a wrestling match together, professional wrestling, Tito Ortiz versus Tank?
You know what? He wouldn't fight me.
No?
I go, let's do a fight right here on the beach. I go, I'll find a promotion to do it. He was with Jenna Jameson out on the patio thing. I went outside and everybody went to the window. I go, look at this, Tito. I go, everybody thinks I'm going to kick your ass right now. And his wife, well, that wasn't his wife, but his girlfriend, the porno chick, pulls her guns and looks at him like, you're going to let this guy talk to you like that? And he's all, hey, Dave, hey. And I go, you're Mr. Getting Over you with Chuck Liddell and everything. I go, why don't you fucking grow some balls and we'll meet in between. I'll cut weight down to like 220 and then we can fight. And I used to spank the shit out of him. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I go, then we can find out. You're calling yourself Huntington Beach bad boy. We'll see who the real bad boy is. I go, besides all that, we'll make a lot of money off it. We probably would have made a lot more money than him and Chuck. But he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And he has my phone number and he never called. So I don't know if he would do wrestling because he would think that I would tater him and
He
fucking
needs to
be
prove
stiff.
himself, though, because he didn't get signed. I don't know if you saw the video, Dan, of Tito Ortiz having his WWE tryouts. I guess it was last year he put out.
No, not at all.
Norman
not even
Smiley
aware.
was
He pursued it.
But the next thing we know, he's mayor of Huntington Beach, or he's on the council there. So it seems
Mayor
like
Pro
that didn't
Tem,
get
so if
through.
the mayor goes out, he's the one that fills in. And they tried to kick him off the council, and he gets up, typical Tito fashion, starts crying, and poor me, I'm a victim, and you guys are just ganging up on me, and I'll try. And then they all go, okay, we're not going to do it this time, but if you do it again, we're gonna recall you. Oh, please.
Well, he really hasn't been in office all that long, or has he? Has he been
3
there for-
months.
Okay.
And
Wow.
they already want to get rid of him.
Wow. That's pretty quick.
It was like, how did that fucking lying scumbag get into the city council? He got the most votes ever from anybody that ran for the mayor there. Jack Kelly, he used to be one of those rifleman TV show. He was a mayor for a long time. I would think that Jack Kelly would have had higher votage thing. He had like 40,000 people vote for him. And they're like, what the fuck? Why are you? I was like, yeah, that's Tito. He's a fucking lying fucking phony, just like he is in fighting. He's not a very good fighter. He's similar to you. He goes out and does a takedown and holds you on the ground.
What about a political future for Tank Abbott?
No.
Okay, why?
First of all, I don't have any desire to do that. And
Okay.
I don't like people. And I don't want people bothering me for anything, much less a city council movement type thing about anything, all the way down to masks and everything else. I just like, no, you guys go figure it out. Leave it for the smart people like Tito Ortiz. You know, he's real smart. Look, YouTube him. Oh, the first 10 shows are how dumb that guy is. But
I don't like how Tank is sugarcoat this right now. I really wish he'd express himself right now. He's skirting the issues here.
Well, how have your dealings been with Tito, Dan? I've never actually heard you talk about it.
I've only ever, I think I might have met him just once, possibly.
you're lucky.
You know, so it's kind of like when I've never really had any dealings with him. I mean, I think I just met him once. That was in passing.
Tito has good people radar. Like if he knows that you have morals and the such, he will kind of avoid you. Like if he knows that you have the capability to be on his game, he'll go, oh, nope, don't try to ruffle that guy's feathers. He's going to call me out. Well, I'm trying to do a public service announcement. Tito Ortiz is a scumbag.
There you go.
I have personal, and I'm not bitter. Tito's never done anything to me that I would be bitter about other than stealing from me. He used to break into my house when I wasn't there, rummage through my house, take alcohol, take a variety of things, and then go, are you still at the bar? It was before cell phones. he would call the bar to make sure I was in the bar, and then he would go to my house. My friends, Eddie Reese, told me all about it, and he used to brag about it. Story in part will tie it up. I know that I'm doing this, but we were in Georgia, and Kevin Randleman and Tito Ortiz broke the candy machine glass and took pillowcases and took all the candy out of it and brought it back to their room. And they're acting like it was kindergarten. I wasn't there. Eddie Reese told me about this, and so that's hearsay, but whatever. This is the story I was told. And they were all throwing the candy on the bed and all like, get this and this and this. And
Sounds like Halloween.
Yeah,
Like, what's in your bag and what's in my bag?
right,
Okay, yeah.
Look what I got. I got extra Funyuns. What's in the bag? So he's there, and then he was spouting off to Eddie about him being professional now that he's up into this level, claiming that he's Mr. Professional. And Eddie goes, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, you got these UFC shows with Tank, and you're out there breaking in candy machines and filling up your pillowcases with candy. I mean, and you're talking about being Mr. Professional? Oh, Lord. This is going to be a hate Tito moment. Right? I promise I won't bring him up anymore, but we'll see.
Well, get just a question, just out of my own curiosity. You're here now in Scottsdale, Arizona. I mean, are there any projects that you're working on? I mean, what consumes your time right now? What are you working on? Do you have a memoir, a book?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not.
No, this is actually, I'm just curious as to here.
It's a novel.
Really? I did not know that.
And the novel is called Before There Were Rules. And it's also a parody, kind of like Mad Magazine and stuff like that. And you're in the book. The final, there's 3, it's over 1,000 pages long.
Wow.
And it's the 3rd book of the trilogy, and it's called Cage Fighter. Starts off with Bar Brawler, then Street Warrior, and then it's Cage Fighter. And because it's like Mad Magazine, there's a character in there called Sam Devern.
Okay,
and he's at UFC 6, and that guy fights a guy named Sham Pebble Rock. And they get into it, and don't really get into the fight because I'm talking about as an observer and as it being a novel, meaning it's not true. Standing back, taking it in, and like if you were a fighter, what would you see, and how did it go down there? So it's very visual book, and Walter Fox is the main character. It starts with him fighting on the streets and like going to jail for it, getting out of jail and going, oh my God, what is my life going to be if I keep on doing this? And so Walter Fox fights in the show, and that's when it's Olaf Cheetolot, the Russian guy that fights in that.
I like the names you come up with here.
Yes, so Olaf Cheetolot fights Walter Fox in the finals. But all the behind scenes that I know about, I included in my novel, my story I made up, of how the Garcia brothers with their jiu-jitsu from Mexico didn't participate in the show anymore because they didn't own it anymore and they couldn't pick the fighters. The Semaphore and Bob took over. His name is Meyer Bobowitz, and that guy took over, and they kind of made the fight tournament, which was tournament, they manipulated it so Olaf Cheetolot would be fresh to fight Walter Fox in the finals. And then Walter Fox goes on. If you're a dilettante out there and a fact finder and the whole 9 yards, this book is a novel, but it's probably written by an insider that would know a lot about it, which would be myself, and it's a hell of a read. I might have to get Dan the first 2 books before he leaves, although I don't know if he knows how to read.
Yeah, you did give me a copy of it.
It's not a
by the
picture
way.
book, I take it then, okay?
No, it's
He drew the artwork for it.
color book.
He drew the artwork for it.
I'll give you a free box of crayons.
There you go. I have a hard time keeping it within the lines,
You're
though.
right. We have more in common than we know. But so is that when Joke Pebble choked out Sam Devon in that super fight? That was the first super fight.
The first match.
First super fight. Yeah. And Joke Pebble has a lot of stories about his behavior back in the day, coming from Japan and thinking he was a superstar. Oh, it's a good chuckle. I mean, if you like Mad Magazine stuff.
Well, again, there's I love Mad Magazine. I like their sarcastic humor.
Sally, yeah, I actually made Mad Magazine. I was sewer tank in Mad Magazine.
Really?
Yeah, somewhere in there I got it. I got stacks and stacks of stuff for all you memorabilia people. Videos, VHS tapes. You know what that is?
Yeah, I have to look at that, to Google that, or go to the Smithsonian.
You're right, exactly. What's a VHS?
Hey, Tank, you wanted me to tell you about haters. Somebody says your nickname should be the King of Excuses, Abbott.
Oh, they're not excuses. They're not excuses. I tell everybody I lost. There are reasons why I lost. I never cheated, fought my friend. I didn't do any of those things. I was a warrior. I go out and get my ass kicked. I sat there and told you. Somebody asked about Pedro Hizzo and Hugo Duarte. I handed it to Hugo Duarte, but I got my ass kicked by Pedro Hizzo. Does that sound like an excuse?
Yeah. Now, Dan, you beat Kurt Angle in amateur wrestling. There was always talk of him going into UFC. How do you guys think he would have done?
I think he would have done well. I mean, it just, again, it all depends on what time area are we talking about. I mean, if it was early on, because, like I talked about my own career, I was basically a one-trick pony. I was not going to win the stand-up game of strikes, kicks, knees, or anything at that nature. I was good at grappling and trying to control. I mean, that's what amateur wrestling does. It helps you control the tempo, it helps you control your opponent, and a lot of the techniques that you do to get a athlete to their back, which I mean, they're easily going to roll over, and because they're fighting off their back in the guard position.
Well, what do you think? You brought up a point that people bring up. What do you think about the fighters or the athletes of today compared to us? I happen to think that you're the only other fighter that fought in the UFC that didn't take steroids. But these new generation kids that are, where's mommy? They need to suck their tits and give them money. They probably still live at home, which isn't a bad deal. I lived at home for a long time too. But they're like, oh, if you only knew this. What, like, if you could only learn this, like it's something we weren't capable of learning. He's a very accomplished wrestler, and if people looked into my wrestling, they would understand that also. I just happen to take that stuff and take it to the street to deal with smartasses. But what do you think about these new fangled guys like, oh, you're old school stuff? No, we were warriors. We were tough son of a bitches. Something you can't learn in a fucking gym. And so you can sit there and go, oh, if I just did that. You vicariously live through these new fighters to make yourself feel good, because you're still a pussy if you're saying that.
No, there's a lot with what you say there.
So I want to know what you think about the new breed. And we were what we were. We weren't this MMA gym creation.
No, there were no. You could Google MMA. You could Google how to do a training camp. I mean, you weren't doing training camps. No. I wasn't doing training camps.
Right.
So it was kind of like going. You simply just went out there and you did what you know what to do.
And you had balls and you had warrior heart things in your head.
maybe half the time there would be like certain rules that all just depend on what the event was at. All of a sudden it might be like, okay, because we're in this state now, we have to abide by this, and you're finding out about that just that night when you are showing up at the show. But then when you look at what used to be the Friday night weigh-in / press conference, there were no weigh-ins back in that no holds barred era. You showed up to a press conference, and literally you didn't even know who the other 7 men were.
They picked him out of a bingo ball.
Yeah. So again, that's why that was story once before, because you're there, you finally see the other 7 contestants, and all of a sudden you realize, they just kind of randomly go down. You got a mediator that's behind the podium there. He just goes contestant number 1. There's a Ken Shamrock. Then you talk about height, weight, a little bit of the background. They sit down, next person stands up. There's a Hoist Gracie. They talk about height, weight, background, and then they pull out the bingo ball and machine, and they spin it. And all of a sudden, boom! Here pops out. There's a number 1. There's a tank gap. There's number 2. There's a Hoist Gracie, something like that. So you finally know less than 24 hours before you're going to step into the cage, and now you're like going, well, who is this guy? What do we know about him?
That's Severn's example, but you want to know what? They changed it the night of. They had alternates in all these.
Sure, there's alternates as well, yeah.
Back left, Sam Severn and Oleg Cheetah in the NHP finals. They changed in the back. Pat Smith pulls out, and then another guy comes in, and you know what? The warriors that we are, and I consider him a warrior. There's other fighters out there that are far from it. They're just fakes, phonies, and actors trying to get a little glory and a little bit of riches if they can find it, but mostly glory. But they're all phonies and fakes. And yes, the T word's coming up. Tito's one of them. And what you got that other. Joker, Boss Root, and he runs around like he's Bruce Lee or something. Guy got his ass kicked by Kevin Randall, man. It's on tape. Check it out, people. That's the only reason why he won, is because they finagled these judges in there and they jobbed him. And so Boss Root, and he's in the Hall of Fame, believe it or not. What? He's a joker like no else. I'm glad he's into acting and he can go after his want to be the next Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris. Bruce Lee, here's the books.
Yeah.
Those are the first 2. Which
is number 1?
That's the first one, Barbara.
Okay, so book 1, book 2. All right.
I show them to the camera. You guys need to buy these.
Book 1, book 2.
The only reason the third one's coming out.
And that's his artwork on the cover of the newest one. That's one of Tank's original things.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I mean, it's actually.
Well, you can read that. You're in book number 3, which is done, and it's in the editor's hands, and he's taken. That's when.
No, that's fantastic.
Give it to Don Fry to read. Someone's asking on air, "Where's Don Fry?" You see,
what? Don Fry. Fuck Don Fry.
You should present those to Don at the podcast.
I'm putting that on my answer machine on my phone. Abbott, Tank Abbott. Fuck Tank Abbott.
I don't think Dad saw that video.
No, you haven't seen it?
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah,
I mean, again, in a lot of ways, I kind of live in a little bit of a cave because I don't.
Oh, that's you see where I live.
I try not to get. There's too much of this. Facebook, everything anymore. Social media, everything. Everyone wants to take their selfie and they want to make they want to elevate themselves because also they'll be like this. They'll spin around. Look,
I know.
I'm like going,
I know the whole story.
Can I get that spray? Get this. It's a little sunny if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Or is it like saying makeup? No, I'm.
So the whole thing. You don't think I can wrestle? I wrestled with a world champion for 5 weeks.
The Schultz. I mean,
yeah,
you had
Mark Schultz.
Mark, yeah.
And he actually mentioned you. He said he went on a wrestling thing with you.
Trip, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, you know how I remember Severn? He goes, some guy was bothering me.
Thank you. And you just sprayed it, you face it, or what?
You can just spray it wherever you want.
Spray it on him. Spray it
Yeah,
on.
yeah, I'll just
Yeah,
show
just
my
close your eyes and
She's
close
a
your eyes and
great
your mouth.
applicator.
Yeah.
You hated
you don't
guys
wanna
that had
be with-
oil on them, didn't you, Dan? You thought that was unfair.
What's that?
The guys that would put oil on them.
Well, yeah, there was,
Oh, of course.
because there's an advantage because I'm looking to try to get good grips for good throws, stuff like that. You put baby oil on you, and it's you go from being around the waist to or you're up in the armpits, and the moves that would have been way more effective. I'm not being able to pull off.
So we were talking about the fights and that. I seen on Hannibal that he was talking to you earlier, previous, and you said something about me hitting the Samoan when he was knocked
Oh
out.
yeah, no, I can tell you.
Okay, but here's my point of view.
Right.
I am in full rev gear. It's on. It's fight forward, and it's and I'm not stopping. I didn't knock him unconscious, walk to the side of the thing, and see him still sitting there. I was still going. I was in attack mode. So I didn't sit there and consciously go, oh, he's fucked up, I'm going to kick him or I'm going to punch him. I was on go mode.
Yeah.
If I had a second or two to get out of that mode, I wouldn't have hit him.
No, I can understand it. I see what I hate.
I don't really care.
No,
It's your style, yeah.
don't go. Let's fast forward to today.
Uh-huh.
There are, I question a lot of the referees. Period, because there's guys that are taking way too much punishment.
Well, the
And-
referees also they're giving them punishment, but from the onslaught of John McCarthy. John McCarthy has a lot to do with the fights. Not my biggest fan. Probably doesn't like me, but I never lost an ounce or a second of sleep over it. But the point is, he affects the fights.
With the rules, you mean? Just the rules that they
Well,
come up
when just my parody there, when Olaf, Cheetalot, and Walter Fox are fighting, he pulls them up for no reason, and this is UFC 6. There's no rules.
Yeah.
And Walter Fox pulls out of the second guillotine, and he goes, boom, like I'm exhausted. I'm going to lay here and rest, get my wind back. That just pulled out of a guillotine. Well, Walter Fox did. And so he then goes, okay, get up. Where Oleg's in the guard not doing anything, just blocking. So he's fresh. Where did that rule come from, John? It was never, ever, don't touch the fighters, let the fight go. Obviously, he was saving TV time because it was running out. But why did he do that? And then there's other fights, like with this cut on my head that I got from Cabbage. They were putting adrenaline or what have you to stop the bleeding. He hit me with a knee. And the guy goes, are you all right? And I go, no, I got goop in my eye, I can't see. I'm like, just wipe it. He goes, I can't see, stop the fight. I'm like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah, the goop that's in my eye that I can't
Yes,
see.
no, but he's looking for every angle. And then,
Your pool boys
God.
have arrived.
he just fucked the door up.
Hey, how was the meeting with your stepdaughter's boyfriend the other night?
I did get a chance to meet him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he was nowhere to be found.
I see.
Yeah, no, that was.
Devin was telling me he had some nice art on that side.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't get into that. I was just curious.
Hey, Christy, how you doing?
I'm good. I didn't want to disturb you.
Oh, no worries. Hey, James, you want to meet Dan Severn?
What are both of your thoughts on Chemo?
Chemo's a tough guy. He's not a wrestler. He's not a striker. He's just a tough guy. What people think of me, because I claim the street as my thing, which I believe is synonymous with real fighting. It's not fighting with a wrestling background. It's not fighting with a striking background. It's not fighting with a submission background. I mixed them all together and I took them to the street. Jeff Blatnick, rest in peace, Jeff. He was a cool guy. Might have picked it up off of me, but I can't tell you how many interviews I would do. I was the top dog after my first show. Everybody wanted to talk to me because I had more personality than most. And so everybody was talking to me, and then they go, what's your style? What's your style? Like all these kids out there nowadays. And I go, no, I just fight. I think, are you a wrestler? I go, yes, I'm a wrestler. Are you a striker? Yeah, I can strike. You know submission? I know enough submission not to get caught. And I go, I just take it all. I mix it all together, and I fight. I don't have a plan. I don't go out with a strategy. I'm going to tire him out and do this and that. And
You know what your strengths are.
Mixed martial arts, and that's what it was. And so...
Yeah, well, I the same played off this what Tank just said there. Just said when I went to my very first UFC, they were basically trying to get all this basic information about you, and then when they hit me with the question, well, what is your martial art? I had never been asked a question like that, and I simply just look at the gal and like going, I'm an American wrestler. Well, they had never heard that response before, and they're like looking left and right, like, what exactly does that do? And I go, I just kind of maybe I look left and right. And I'm like, you might want to watch because I'm kind of making this up as I go.
You know, yeah, exactly. You can't have a plan. It doesn't work. You know what? It got me in a plan with his buddy and some guy that doesn't want to be my buddy, Don Fry.
Yeah.
When he stepped on my foot and I fell backwards when he was on Queer Street, which means out on your feet, he was staggering. He stepped on my foot and I fell down. I rolled over. And it was evolving at the time, and I go, okay, I'm going to snap his fucking ankle. I'm going to reach down and grab it and crank it like a strategic move like I've been training for. And if I would have just balls to the walls and said, fuck this, I'm getting a stand-up and did what I've done for a year since I was 9 years old, I would have got away from him. But no, I'm going to do my little sneaky submission hold and twist his ankle. See what that got me. It got Don Fry going, fuck Tank Abbott 25 years later. So it goes back to styles and wrestling, and utilize wrestling to no end. And back before
There really weren't no, as the first by 6, what were the newest rules other than time? I think time was starting.
Okay, there wasn't no eye gouging and no biting.
Okay,
that was it. Because I said, can I fish hook? And John McCarthy's like, well, fish hook? What the hell's that? And I don't know if your wrestling rooms.
Yeah, I know exactly.
After wrestling, there was like a free-for-all fight practice, and in high school. And so everybody would fight, and I would fight the coach, and he would get fish hooks on me. He'd come in with the side and just rip my lip off and bang my head on the mat. The tears are coming out of my eyes. He's like, yeah, it's a fish hook. And I guess every wrestler knows what a fish hook is. I guess John's not a wrestler. He's the jiu-jitsu stooge. Anyways, so I asked him if he could fish hook, and he's all, what's that? And then I said, what about these things? I didn't tell him I modified them. I said there's speed bag gloves. I found at like a Best Buy package store, box store for sporting goods. It wasn't a Best Buy. It was like a Dick's Sporting Goods or what have you.
That's the big chain that's out there.
Yeah, it was a chain thing, and I found them in there, and it was like speed bag gloves. And I'm like, those look interesting because I need to wrestle. And I looked at them, and they had a plastic tube that was sewn into it.
Bar that you could
I cut that bar out, and I didn't tell him anything. I said, can you wear these things? He said, if you want to. If you want to. Like, I'm like, this guy's never been in a fight in his life. You're going to punch somebody with your hands, and then you have to fight 2 other people? It doesn't work that way in the street or where there are no rules. So he's like, yeah, you can wear them if you want to. And they were all like, that's all in Walter Fox going to the first, his first NHB story. It's all in there. And the referee, his name is Little Winchell Duncan. Okay. Yeah, Little Winchell Duncan. He's a referee in that show. So I don't know him being a cop and off Winchell's and everything runs together.
Yeah. Off the same aspect, but I mean, it was
Uh-huh.
like I actually asked him, can I wear wrestling shoes?
Uh-huh.
They're like, well, if you do, you're not allowed to kick or stop. I'm going, what did I lose just now?
Absolutely.
So I wore wrestling shoes because, again, having a good surface to grip off.
I wanted
you know,
knee
dry.
pads, and I left them at home. And then Andy, I don't know if you remember Andy.
Anderson?
No,
or Andy, yeah.
He was a little guy that fought a big fat guy that eye gouged him. Andy Anderson.
Yeah.
Andy Anderson. I guess he's in prison. He fell on bad luck.
Oh, that's bad.
Meyerowitz told me he's like in federal prison for something. But he went and got me. They weren't padded, just knee coverings.
Yeah, like the sleeves.
So I wouldn't get mat burns.
Yeah.
And I wore those. I still have them. They're covered in blood, not mine. And so, as far as gear went along, as gloves and that kind of stuff, as Dan's saying, as long as you didn't have steel things in them, that's what he said. And there was only 2 rules: you couldn't bite and you couldn't eye gouge. And then after I fought, you couldn't fish hook.
Who would have won between Don Fry and Hoist Gracie? The fans want to know from you guys.
Don Fry.
Yeah, because Don had a good wrestling base, and he had that. He had
the jiu-jitsu secret's out. It's not like Steven Seagal or whatever that you can't quantify his secret moves because he uses brain things. His secret's out. It's not. Submission's not hard to learn if you've wrestled your whole life. If you have a strong grappling background, I guarantee you Dan would not get choked out by any submission nowadays. But back in the day, they introduced the guillotine, and I fell victim to it, and I believe Dan did too. From Shamrock, what a joke that guy is. Whoa, keep me on track. So Dan was out there, and it was all new, but everything's not new anymore. Everybody knows just about everything.
Yeah, especially when you could Google match after match. I mean, it's you know, you could trade. There's so much footage that you could see, and you got all kinds of cool coaches out there that they've got. They got 30 plus years in it as well that can help you break down tapes to see what is an opponent's strength, what their weaknesses are. You always try to avoid their strengths.
You know what?
Capitalize on weaknesses.
I don't want to cut you off, but you're a wrestler, and people don't know exactly how much I've wrestled, and I don't really care. But I've wrestled with some top guys. It doesn't really matter how much wrestling you can watch, how much wrestling you can know. It matters what's in your heart, what's in your head, and how tough you are. You can't just go, I'm going to the wrestling room and I'm going to be a tough guy and fight in the UFC.
Yeah, I totally agree. It doesn't work like that. You either have that
natural ability,
determination, and you have to have heart. Those are 2 things that no coach can really instill inside of you. Either you have it or you don't. And there's ways of conditioning people, but I've been in the practice room. I coached at Arizona State, I coached at Michigan State. There's guys inside that practice room that they are king of the practice room. But you put them out for that live crowd, they choke. And
Paul Herrera.
And then there's other guys that they can't walk across that wrestle mat without tripping over that painted out line, but you put them out in front of a crowd, it's like the biggest vitamin B12. It's like dun dun dun, they come alive, and most people fall somewhere in between those two levels.
Now, we posted some clips on this channel, Dan, of your Toxic Masculinity podcast that you're doing with Tank's buddy Don
What do you think of that toxic masculinity name there in the first place? Toxic masculinity.
Oh yeah, if I understood it, I would know. I mean, I understand it.
Oh no, trust me. I actually had to ask because the Don's.
No, I'm dissecting it in my brain right now, and I'll put my disclaimer out there. You know, I had a series of strokes when I was in the hospital, so I'm struggling to get to average intelligence. But I'll toxic. What's the
masculinity? Toxic masculinity.
It's kind of an oxymoron, kind of like light heavyweights.
Well, but when you think about in today's political atmosphere, I mean, it goes well beyond that. Because I had to ask Don some questions about that, and he's the one that brought up all these other. I thought, well, you put in a lot more thought than I I'll give you credit for, which I mean, it was comical, but
Sure.
but it was we do have quite a bit of the neutering of our society, more and more. From parental aspects to people just be what you are.
Yes, and it's not like after my first show, which I pretty much dominated, except for in my novel, Olaf cheated his way to the finals, and I lost due to fatigue and everything else. Not that I was not in shape. I get in shape, people. I just show up when I shouldn't. But that whole point of Olaf, cheat a lot, and all that, it's all about how tough you are. It's not, that guy is a tough man. You can't take that away from him. Back to Hoist Gracie. That man's a tough man, but he's 180 pounds. And jiu-jitsu's not going to save him, because I know jiu-jitsu and I know how to stop it. He's going to try to stop a 600-pound sledgehammer coming in his face. Good luck. And Dan will tie him up in knots. I'm pretty sure Dan's not going to get tapped out ever again. So that's where it goes. Bitter old man.
No, it's kind of like sometimes
it's just the truth. I'm the purveyor of truth.
Yeah.
And then people get all pissed off, these people that ask these questions, because you can't buy being tough. And everybody wants to be a tough guy for some reason. I'm at ease with it. Whatever. I just laugh at people now.
No, I always say they don't have to ask to be my Facebook friend. If they don't like what I'm talking about, they can simply go bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Move along. That's the freedoms that we still have.
Maybe that's how I ended up out in the middle of the desert out here.
No,
right?
maybe it was actually interesting driving off at 136 because it's kind of like going, I feel like I might be getting seasick here.
When we came out to view this house, because we were looking all over the place, I could live anywhere I want to live. And I go, once we got on this road, I'm starting to really like this place. And I hadn't even seen it yet. And she's like, yeah. And then I came to the dirt road where it says private road.
Yes.
I go, I love this place. I hope the house is like the pictures. And it is. So, yeah, I'm enjoying living here.
Do you have, how much land do you have here?
It's an acre.
Okay.
I own all the way that way. See where the fence ends?
Yeah.
That's the property line. I'm going to put a fence across the back there.
You mean, okay, the metal fence or was it about
The further fence out there, the neighbor's fence.
Okay, that's it, yep.
And that's to our property line. So I sit out here and chill with my wife, the only person I can stand. And of course, Sam Devern.
Yeah, it limited dosages though. Okay, limited dosages.
I don't know, because I was back in the days. I was, I'm sure you don't remember this because we all know the yahoos that we run into in this life. But I was at UFC 5, I believe, in Charlotte.
Okay.
And I was one of these dilettantes that comment on us at the thing, and I'm like, I was so in love with wrestling and like wrestling ever since I was 9 years old. That was all about me. And
Just way before I started.
Yeah, well, so you got on the elevator, and I'm sure I was across the highway drinking cocktails with the locals there, and I was just there to check it out. Because Art Davey told me that I would be in the show.
Okay.
But not this show. So I had someone fly me out there. And so I was there, and you got in the elevator. And you had a towel around your neck, and somebody was with you. And I go, oh, so you're Dan Severn. And you're like, yeah, like you would talk to a Mark. And I go, listen, man, I'm a fucking wrestler. And I go, don't fucking let wrestling down. And you looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, I go, you got to stand up for wrestling, man. You got to take care of these guys. And you're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, okay, idiot, quit fucking talking to me. And I go, because if you don't, I'm going to come back and kick your ass. When I was getting off the elevator, I timed it right. And you just kind of shrugged and looked at your friend like, that guy's fucking crazy, right? We meet crazy people
Well,
in
yeah,
this life.
you just never know who you're going to be there.
Yeah, you're like, what, dude? Hey, calm down. I've never met you before in my life. But, yeah, that was my first bump in with Sam Devern.
There's a fan tank that wanted to know if it bothered you to lose to Scott Steiner.
No. Scott, it's a good guy to lose to.
All right, as we wind it down here, what is your thoughts on the current UFC scene right now compared to what it was when you guys started?
I don't really watch it. I kind of catch up here's and there's. So, you know, whatever. Back in the day, the premise was, who's the baddest guy walking around the streets? In a bar, or whatever. And so Dan Severn, the likes of me, all these guys came together to fight like men, not a sport. It wasn't like I participate in a sport. It was like, you got out and fought. And it was like if you were into soccer, you would carry a soccer ball around in your car and stop at every stoplight and start juggling it with your feet. But that's how it was with the fighting. They were real warriors. Now it's like, oh, I train in MMA. Oh, so in your head that's making you think you're tough. But these guys I don't know. And then, like I said yesterday, all these little guys should look up and thank and pay homage to whoever invented a weight scale. Because if they didn't, they could never compete in a tournament. Why don't they have a tournament? And then I vaguely know some names like that Nagano guy. He could fight, who's the little leprechaun guy? Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He could fight him. They could have a tournament like that. And then I could get that GSP. That guy is like a metrosexual looking dude. I would hate to lose to that guy. Like, oh my God.
What did you think about GSP's last fight? Some people said it was given to him.
I've never seen him fight, and I don't know. I just, the way he looks like Van Damme.
What time there was his last fight in?
That was a few years ago now.
I thought he was coming back or something like that to fight.
There's always talk of him
There's
versus
talk about
Khabib.
him possibly coming back.
It's a money issue, I think.
He strikes me like Anthony Macias, kind of like a metrosexual kind of guy. But you got to take your hat off. I guess he's talented.
And I guess it's happening right now. Tiger Woods has been in a serious car accident. He's in surgery right now.
Oh, wow.
Any thoughts on Tiger Woods? I don't strike.
I have a joke about it just right off the top of my head. I was like, did he mess up his car, or was his wife with him, or now ex-wife? Didn't she beat the shit out of his car with a golf club?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think in Florida that was a big deal. So that was my attempt at a joke, that he got in a car accident. Ha ha ha. Did his wife beat up the car with the golf club?
There's a fan that wants to know your guys' thoughts on testosterone replacement therapy. That's
just an excuse for pussies that have to take steroids, because they can't be who they are by themselves, and they're mental pussies, and they fucking have to take a crutch. I hate these redhead guys that fight. It's cheating.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like there should be there's rules and regulations to all. You know what you asked before. It's a nice competition. Is what the UFC has morphed into.
Yeah,
you know, it's nowhere near.
It's a sport.
Yeah, it's nowhere near the spectacle that it was when it first began, of having big mid versus different smaller. I mean, you have weight differences of 400 plus pounds. But you still had mid that climbed in there, and they're ready to throw down. And when you only had, just either a couple rules to abide by, and no time rounds, you just simply wait until somebody was unconscious, whether that was because they choked them out or they knocked them out, or your corner could throw a towel in. The 8-man tournament concept.
Yes.
We talked about that.
It's
also.
not illegal. They should do it. They should have it. Why don't they have it? Because none of the fighters will do it.
Well, you would have to have somebody alternates in place, because what's the chances of one person surviving 3 matches?
Right,
or
but
at least the first 2 to go into a fight.
You've fought in tournaments. You know, you suck it up. It's
Well,
not like,
you-
oh, I have a hurt hand, I can't fight now. You suck it up and you do what you got to do.
But that, I think, but a lot of that is because of, well, again, for myself, I'll speak,
Yeah,
because
sure.
of that wrestling background, doing 4, 5, 6, 7 matches a day.
Tournaments.
You know, so do that tournament format, knowing that, okay, first round, I've got this guy from this school, whatever.
Absolutely.
I go against this guy. Next round, I'm going to get other ones. But the same way, if you jumped into freestyle and Greco-Roman tournaments, you jump in, it's a blind draw, and you simply know you could be going up against a national champion, a World Cup champion, Olympian, or something like that. Your first
Sure.
time out, and you go out there because that was just the luck of the draw. And then, whether you win or lose,
You
you're
didn't-
always guaranteed at least 2 matches.
You didn't have to make sure the conditions were right.
Right.
You went out and wrestled no matter what. Even if you had a broken foot, you went out and wrestled.
Yeah.
You didn't sit there and go, oh, I have to make an excuse. I can't fight. Everything's got to be perfect for these guys to fight. And that's not me. I'm a warrior. I'll step up there. I'll take a loss. I don't care, because everybody else are pussies and they don't want to fight.
Last fan question I'll ask. Thank you all the fans for your questions. I know we didn't get many of them, but these guys go off on tangents, which is fine. That's what we want.
It's the ADD kicking it here right now, that's all.
But favorite match, Dan, from WWE, and Tank, they want to know your favorite match from WCW. And also, last thing, fans, there will be a high quality version of this released with the full video. This is just the cell phone version.
You know, I mean, this high quality, whatever fan favorite type match. I work predominantly with Owen Hart, with Shamrock was in the mix, and Steve Blackman. I mean, it seemed like there was always like the 3 of us getting together. I had other individual matches that took place, but it seemed like, you know, towards I'll say it kind of kept getting more that I was with those 3. But there was the inevitability was there was a match 3 between Shamrock and myself, a rubber match that could have easily have played out in the wacky world of professional wrestling that never got its opportunity, and that just, it's lost. So lost opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. I liked wrestling with everybody, but I would have to say for the World Championship, WCW World Championship match against Sid Vicious, I thought I had him. I was busting him up pretty good, and I was new, my novice thing, and I turned my back on him, and he snuck up and choked me out. And it's just because another excuse, here comes the reason why, is because I just didn't know what I was doing. I thought I had him, and I was being braggadocious. I turned my back to him, and everybody saw him choke me out. I had that belt this close in my hands. This close. And it was snatched away from Sid. And thank God I went to the hotel bar and got drunk, because I don't know what I would have done if I couldn't have done that.
Getting drunk with Mean Gene.
Mean Gene Okerlund. Gino.
Now, I forgot to ask you earlier about Gregory Helms, Tank, your time working with 3 Count and Gregory Helms. I don't know if Dan ever met him, but you were the manager. He was the
Yes.
manager of 3 boy band wrestlers.
Yes.
He would often dance and sing.
Oh, yeah, I wrote
Yeah.
a song. I was using them to get a record label to sign me. Yeah, those guys, because you know how rock stars are, they're really full of themselves. If you don't, but my run-ins with them,
Yeah.
and they think they're, you know, the next best thing since sliced bread. But that's all right, goes with the territory. But that's how 3 Count was. They were a boy band. I mean, they had like NSYNC and all those kind of guys bands going on, and they didn't really have time for me to chit chat. And they were on to my sneaky ways of using them as backup singers for my debut. I can't remember what I called it. But it's a Tank thing. I sang, it ain't nothing but a Tank thing, and it went off. I actually filmed a commercial and I was branching off to be Tank Sinatra. What somebody else is a Tank Sinatra now, but the Sinatra people, I set a whole commercial for them with my singing and all. I was in a tuxedo, and the Sinatra people would not let legal let me do that parody of Frank, even though I have blue eyes. I actually dedicated a fight, I think it was Hugo Duarte, to Frank Sinatra just died, and I dedicated the fight in the octagon to him.
Huh.
Old Blue Eyes.
Where did Tank come from? Where because that's your first name, so we
No.
So,
So-
where did Tank come from?
Okay, so I'm in jail. I get a
What time frame? How old?
95,
Are you? Okay, so you are
30.
okay.
I was a teenager till 52 when I got sick.
Okay.
And so I was 30, and I got out on work release during the day, and then I had to go back to like a temporary jail. And the guy that worked there goes, "I can get you in this show," because we'd seen it and just popped on the thing. It was like a big deal. Like, wow, they finally got a real show, and it wasn't a martial arts show. It was just billed as real fighting. And so, my friend, who's an annoying, doesn't know how to take no for an answer, kept calling Art Davey, and he's like, "Listen, okay, he needs to be a black belt of something." And I'm like, "No, you don't get it. Black belts don't work. That is karate and all that's all a bunch of bullshit. I've been in more street fights than you can imagine, easily over 200. And no one has, there's been a few fools that thought karate would work for them, and it didn't go their way." And I'm like, "No, I don't have a black belt." So Art Davies doing background to find out who I am from Orange County and the street, and it didn't take him too long to find out. Calls up my friend and he goes, "Oh, did you find out that he stomps the streets around here?" And he goes, "Is he qualified? He's not a martial artist." And he goes, "No, he's not. We have a problem." And he's always not qualified. And he goes, "No, we heard he's overqualified." And I'm like, "Okay then." And he goes, "We got to think about what we're going to do to bring him in." And so they're under the impression that a street fighter has not been in a wrestling room since he's been 9 years old, or a boxing gym for 4 or 5 years, and goes out every weekend and beats the shit out of people at bars. Because I looked for it. And so he goes, "You're saying he's a street fighter. You're saying he's a street fighter." Art Davey goes, "Okay, we figured it out. Tell Tank to come in for office thing." And so I come in. And I wasn't Tank at the time. He goes, "Tell Dave to come on down here." And he goes, "All right, we've been scratching our heads, and here's the deal. You ever seen Any Which Way But Loose?" And
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
okay, and I go, "No," because I don't really watch movies. And he goes, "There's a guy on there, he's called the Street Fighting Legend, and his name's Tank Murdoch. And this character that Clint Eastwood is playing, Philo, Beto, or what have you, is a fighter too, and he's gonna go fight in a backyard fight, and he's gonna fight Tank Murdoch." And he goes, "The Street Fighting Legend." He goes, "So we want to pump you up as like the real life Tank Murdoch, the Street Fighting Legend." I don't care. Am I not going to jail? And they're going, "Yeah, you're not going to jail." And I go, "Perfect. Call me Lucy. Call me whatever you want. As long as I'm not in trouble, I'm down for throwing down, And so ever since then, Tank, I used to shrill at the name, like someone would go, "Hey, Tank," and I go, "Oh my God, that's so fucking stupid."
Well, even going to be here today, I kept thinking, do I refer to you as David? Do I
Oh,
refer to you as Tank,
I'm
or-
used to it now.
Oh,
You
okay.
can call,
All right. Okay.
most people call me asshole,
Oh, well.
so that's more used to it. So, anyways, so they booked me as Tank, the street fighting legend, and according to their martial art brains, because they know certain stuff that you don't know, and they're going to beat me up. I was going to be made fast work of, especially by the 400-pound bone-breaking Samoan, even though it was happenstance with the lottery balls. They're like, oh, this is going to be perfect because everybody out there in TV land, which is absolutely turned out to be true, thinks they can fight and thinks they're tough guys. I found that out after the show. All these people I've known for years, went to high school with, they all decided that they're going to give me fight lessons. And I'm like, I've been stomping these streets and beating people up for the last 5-10 years, and you're now going to tell me how to street fight? And I've known you forever, and I've never seen you back down to cheerleaders, and you're going to tell me how to do it.
Yeah, what's your pedigree?
Yeah, exactly.
What's your pedigree?
And so they called me Tank, the street fighting legend, and voila, it stuck. And in the book, Crazy Fox, that's what they changed his name. His name's Walter Fox, and they call him in the book Crazy Fox. And Walter Fox in the book cringes at the name of Crazy, much like somebody that in real life that would cringe about the name of Tank. Like, hey, Tank. And I go, you know how stupid that sounds? Like, you're like, hey, I'm a Tank. And I'm like, whatever, but it's stuck now.
Okay,
That's who I am.
I just kind of thought with it because of your stocky demeanor, the fact that you're bench pressing 600
Yes.
pounds, and
No, it had nothing to do with any of that.
Okay.
It was all the street fighting lessons stuff. Like, are you the beast?
to me it's like that was just a.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly the same.
The girls gave him the nickname the Beast.
Oh, I
Back
have
in
no
college.
doubt. They have not 1 ounce of knowledge about fighting anywhere, and they're going to name people like they named me Tank. Whatever.
Yeah, they're probably just looking for that marketability.
Yes,
trying to
absolutely.
get more sponsors on
It
board,
was that
stuff like
stooge that worked for Bob Meyerowitz, Campbell McLaren,
Oh,
and then Art Davey. Those brilliant minds got together and collectively came up
I think
with Tank.
Campbell. Last I knew, he was actually working doing a Spanish version.
Yeah,
of mixed
for
martial
Tito
arts.
fought in it. And it looked like a work fight to me
Oh,
against that Del Rio guy, the wrestler.
oh, really?
He
Yeah,
got brought up.
don't
He
know.
got brought up on charges, some sexual kind of charges or something like that, after the fight. But it was a total work, in my opinion. In my opinion, it was a work. He just went out there, threw him on the ground, and started punching him in the face, and they stopped it like 30 seconds. But Campbell was at the helm of that show, and like I said, he was nothing more than a stooge for Meyerowitz. So when he was pushing that show, I get his angle on it, but he was kind of cheesy, like a Don Kingish kind of character. He was playing a character. People weren't buying it, I don't think, unless they really thought he was a jerk.
Dan, do you want to let fans know where they can follow you on social media?
Well, just go to dansevern.com, SEVERN, dansevern.com. You'll see all my social media outlets there. But I am going to do, when we do go off the air, I am going to do something really cheesy. I'm going to ask you to autograph your book.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
I'm all down for that. If I can remember my
Yeah.
name, was it Tank?
Well,
The Beast.
but one
You have to read it.
one last look there for fans out
Oh,
there. That
good.
these 2 books that are out here right now. We got
And I wrote every word of it. It wasn't a ghostwriter. It wasn't anybody else.
Before
sat
There Were
and-
Rules and
That was in book 1 and book 2.
yeah,
Bar Brawler
Cage Fighter Legend.
and Street Warrior.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially my character is
Sam
Sam Devon.
Devon.
Okay, good. I'll look for it.
Yeah. I don't know if I go off on you in a good or a bad way. You were just kind of on the
Well,
periphery
basically, yeah.
because you were fighting Sham Joke Pebble.
Well, Dan doesn't have that much controversial stuff to go off about.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm talking about in the novel that I wrote,
Oh yeah.
the parody that I wrote. He was not like a main character in it. He was just the guy that walked by.
Excellent. And the what's it called? Testosterone, toxic masculinity.
There
Toxic
you go.
masculinity. You're still waiting to open a YouTube channel for it.
Well, yeah, I know. There's still things that it's all still in its prelims here. I mean, we're still.
Where are you going down to? You going down to Tucson to do it?
Yeah, down to Tucson, just outside
I
of
could
Tucson.
drive out there if you want me to do it. I'll go down there. Maybe me and my newest fan,
Yeah.
Don, we could do like a halftime wrestling show in there. We can go at each other.
If you do that,
We're both beat.
back for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're all beat up, and it's like
we'll get the four cactuses for the four
Yeah,
poles. Ring
yeah,
posts. Yeah, there
exactly.
you go. Got to do the Arizona sunset or
Yes.
scenery.
Well,
Arizona's awesome. I'm glad I made the move, and HB was going down the tubes and still is, especially when you. I don't say the T word, but when you elect Mayor Pro Tem Tito Ortiz, you guys are fools.
Dan, any final comment here to wrap this up?
No, actually, it was kind of funny because when you were interviewing me, I tend not to try to swear, and I always refer to people as a turd. So that's my
Okay.
T word is if you're a turd, you're not you're a person that obviously I want to flush down the toilet.
I understand.
Yeah,
So I fit both things.
Well,
then,
no.
I guess.
I was gonna say you referred to Tito.
Oh, the T word, yes.
Yeah, the T word.
Well,
so.
it applies both for him. So.
Do you want to finish this with an insult tag? That seems to be the way that you.
Oh,
like to end it.
insults. Listen.
That your wife would approve of.
Yes. Well, my wife will approve.
Well, I'll say one thing before take us up, that this has been an interesting day for me because I've never had a chance to have any kind of dialogue with Tank like this. So
Somebody said it was the best interview ever. Andrew Anderson, you may have met the wrestler. He commented that.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Andrew and I were supposed to have done a match at an event all due to the coronavirus. That got postponed, then canceled, then postponed, and so.
Well, that's
the
it's
match
something
going
that
to
you haven't
professional,
touched on.
we
Why
don't
don't you touch
we don't
on?
know if it'll ever happen again.
Why don't you touch on Sam Devern and Walter Fox fight?
I guess, but I wasn't there to see it.
No, you were in it.
Oh.
You kicked Walter's ass. Sam Devern beat an Ultimate. Was it Ultimate? I get messed up because of my medical issues.
Okay.
When did you fight me and slap the shit out of me?
Ultimate.
Yeah.
The first time they had the round, stuff like that. No, it was
so let's talk about that fight. This thing. When Dan went out there, he came out like a wrestler, and I had trained with
Mark Schultz.
I don't drop names, but Mark Schultz. He's a world champion.
I just have a lot of respect.
Mark and Mark. You can't say enough accolades about the man, but he's an awesome wrestler. So I was not too worried about his wrestling ability at all, and I wanted to punch, and he took me down, and he just held me there. Whichever, that's his style. But I mean, it wasn't like I was begging for my life. I was just getting peppered, and he won. Oh, it's no excuses. But he just peppered me, and so it wasn't. If it was the street, I would have laid there for like an hour, and then finally get tired. I'd hit a stand up and go after him. But
I believe that.
Yeah, but
like I said, even when it was all the match was over, I mean, you're still standing there, you're ready to throw down.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not. He won. It was an absolute thing, and that's his fighting style. I'm just a little more aggressive,
Issues over here. He's just a little bit more aggressive. That's all.
Dan was out there to take you down and win. I was out there to kill you.
He's mellowed.
And pose for some cameras too. I saw one where you had the guy up against the cage, and you had time to like look at the camera. And reminded me of pro wrestling.
Yeah, well, it's like, you don't understand. You have a group of fighters, right? And I never understood why they had the cocktail parties afterwards. But you have these fighters.
I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, that's asking for trouble.
And like, they're all fighters. I mean, like a good friend of mine said from Vietnam, he's a POW. He says, eagles might share the side of a mountain, but they don't flock. And this man's a warrior beyond warriors. And he's right. It's not like, hey, we're going to, maybe now that we're older or whatever, back in this thing, I'm a fuck. Get drunk and go, come on, let's go. We're going to fight right now, and then we'll be friends tomorrow. But as far as that goes, it's fighting.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.